my name is Laurisa Rosado, and I live in Northeast Ohio, about an hour east of Cleveland.
Awesome. And when did you give birth?
I gave birth October 27th of 2026.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're gonna just jump into your birth story. So, to set the scene, your intentions for your birth were transcendent, safe, and fluid. So, just everyone can
Yes.
keep that in mind as they listen to your story. And if you just want to let us hear it.
Yeah. All right. So it was actually literally midnight, and I am sitting in my recliner with my husband in the living room, and I'm actually pumping for colostrum. And my water breaks. And so I like stand up and I'm like, I think my water just broke. It wasn't like a giant gush or anything like that, but it felt something. And so I go to the restroom and I tell him to get the swab that swabs and it turns blue if it's amniotic fluid. And so I'm swabbing and nothing is happening. Okay. So this is an important part of the story. My husband and I hadn't, been really intimate in a while until that day, which was kind of part of my plan. Nothing crazy, but so anyways, I'm like, "Oh my God, like did I just basically have a big cum in my pants? Like this is
Mhm.
embarrassing. Like I don't think my water broke. I think that I'm, whatever." So keep swabbing, nothing's happening. And then I'm just like, well, whatever, I'm gonna go upstairs and, change my clothes. And I'm upstairs and I'm just like leaking clear fluid onto the ground. And I'm like, Jack, come up here and swab this on the ground. And finally it turns blue. And him and I look at each other and we just have this really beautiful moment of, okay, like we're bringing our daughter into this world. And we go lay down to go to sleep.
Mm.
um, it makes me emotional talking about it. It's just so
Yeah.
beautiful. But nope, we go lay down, and now at 2 a.m., I kind of wake up. I'm having, false contractions. They are just sporadic, and some are intense, some are not. It's just kind of here and there. And I'm in and out of sleep until about 5 a.m. I decide I'm going to get up and take a hot bath. And then around 6 a.m., I go downstairs and I just am laboring in my living room. And then around 7, I go upstairs and I tell Jack, like, I need some sustenance, bro. Like, I need you to make me a hydrator. I need you to make me some food. And he does all that. And I lay in bed. And now it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and he brings me up, big breakfast eggs and bacon and fruit and toast with peanut butter and OJ. And I'm like, yes, I need this. And, I take like 5 slow bites
Yeah.
and then I throw everything up.
Oh.
Yeah, I throw everything up. My sister brings me one of my most favorite green smoothies. I throw it up almost immediately. Yep. And probably from 8 in the morning until about 3 p.m., I am continuing to throw everything up. And I'm also shitting a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So, but anyways, after that, it's fine. I'm a weird person. I don't mind throwing up. It feels like a cleanse to me. So I'm just
Hmm.
like, okay, like it's game on. Like I'm embracing it, and I have some contractions. I'm laboring in my living room on my couch. And then it was actually a really beautiful morning. The sun was out, it was a little brisk, it's fall. I labor outside of my back porch. And, I brought my yoga mat out there and I'm like, I'm going to do some gentle movement. I end up just, throwing up off of my back porch because I'm throwing up everything, even water. I'm throwing up
Oh,
water.
oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. And so, whatever, I come back inside and for me actually, I felt more comfortable contracting in stillness. I see a lot of women in
Hmm.
videos, moving and swaying, and I just wanted to be still.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so my tribe gets over, I have three basically sisters that are there and they bring hella food and, I can't really eat any of it because I'm throwing everything up. And there was a point where Jack and I looked at each other and he's not saying it and I'm not saying it, but we're kind of worried that I can't keep anything down
Mhm.
because mostly, the number one reason for transfer for a home birth is fatigue. And if I'm dehydrated, I'm going to
Mhm.
get fatigued. But around 3 o'clock, thankfully, some hot bone broth just really saved my life.
Wow, that's good to know. People need to write that down.
Yeah, saved my life. I kept it down and we get my midwife on the phone because I have my sisters. They have an app where they're timing my contractions, and my app is like, "You're in active labor now." And I'm like, call Danica, get her on the phone. And she's like, let me listen to, you have a contraction over the phone. And
Mhm.
in my head, I'm like, should I play it up? Like, what's and then she listens and she's like, okay, I'm gonna slowly start getting my stuff ready and making my way over. And Jack's like, so I shouldn't fill up the birthing pool yet. And she's like, no, you have time. He hangs up the phone. I'm like, fill the pool up. This baby's coming. I don't know what everyone is waiting around for. And she wasn't born until like 8:40 p.m. and it's 3 o'clock at this point. So, but anyways, he fills the pool and I am almost in my I like warm, I like hot water,
Mhm.
I don't want to get in some cool warm water. And so I'm like, I kind of want to go upstairs and take a bath. And he's like, I really don't want you to go upstairs and get stuck in the bathtub and kind of be by yourself.
Oh,
Just
okay.
trust me that the water in your pool, you're going to like it.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I trust you. And I got in that pool at 4 p.m. and I was in it. I got out one time with the recommendation of my midwife to just kind of shift positions and use the restroom, but I was in my pool the entire time and I didn't get pruny or anything. It was
That's
so,
interesting.
I know. A lot of people asked, and I was also asking myself this, how are we going to keep the water warm?
Mhm.
Jack did not fill the pool all of the way. He
Okay.
filled it enough and just throughout, the evening would add hot water to it. So that's how we
Oh,
kept it warm.
like
And
he would boil water or he would just through the hose.
so we had a hose hooked up to our utility sink in our mudroom.
Oh, smart.
Yeah,
Cool.
yep. And there's like a little adapter that went onto it and hooked up to the hose. And something really important if you are having a home birth and you have a birthing pool, you need to buy a new hose.
Yeah.
Because hoses, they're wet, they hold moisture, there's
Yeah.
bacteria in there.
Yeah.
So yep, we just had it hooked up to our utility sink and it was long enough to come into our birthing room.
Mhm.
And then I also had a towel in my water too, so you could soak it and put it, lay it over me like a nice warm blanket.
Yeah.
Yep. And then so my midwife ends up, she ends up getting here probably around 5:30 or so. And I'm just in my water, just having contractions. And they were, I had told you before, pain was not a word in my vocabulary during this experience. And I look back and even during it, I like for me, and everyone experiences everything differently, but for
Mhm.
me, I really didn't feel pain until she started crowning. I would say that my contractions, they were intense.
Mhm.
And for me, I had to really just lock in. I told you that I liked the stillness. My
Mhm.
whole entire like labor and birth experience was extremely focused and meditative. And yeah, so I was just having my contractions and I guess that just leads us to the part where she starts crowning. And it was this really beautiful dance when she started to crown. Well, actually, let me backtrack.
Yeah.
In this meditative state I'm having, so there's two significant things. My most bestest, witchiest gal pal, my soul sister, she brought over this deer pelvis, these bones that ironically her and my little sister found in the woods a week prior. And she brought it over, and our ancestors are telling her, like, you can't bring it in the house, you need to put it on the front porch. And she's like, okay, I just do what I'm told. And I was having back labor, really intense back labor. Now, again, it wasn't painful, it was just very irritating,
Hmm.
like very irritating. And almost like that's what was fatiguing me, like feeling it in your back. But she told me, send all of your back pain to this deer pelvis. And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And I forget about it because I'm
Hmm.
going through it. And she tells me again, and it the second time that she told me, I like locked in and imagined that my lower back had this like thread of white light, and it was like jagged, almost like zigzaggy, shooting from my lower back out to these bones, this deer pelvis on my front porch. And all of like the intensity and pressure that I was feeling there, I was sending through this thread to that pelvis. And it helped. It was serving me. So cool.
And I do
And
want to
then
say, like, there's proof, like, sending love to someone can have an impact, like, energetically. So I never thought, like, you could apply that to pain or discomfort of, like, sending it to
yeah.
an inanimate object. Like, you don't want to do it to another person, but that's like
Yeah.
a very important, real thing that can occur.
Absolutely. The Power of Eight, there's a book on it.
Yes.
It's basically like what prayer really is,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you hear those stories. There's this woman was, in traffic. There was a car accident up ahead, and the person that was in the car accident, they didn't die, but I think they left their body for a second. And she ended up finding this woman that was praying for her and saying, I walked up to your car and saw you praying, and I saw this stream of light like going to my body, like passing this chain of cars and going to my body. It was incredible.
It's
So
amazing.
I believe in that. I
Hmm.
see it.
You experienced it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then so there was one other
I'm just gonna
while I'm
adjust my
in,
light really quick.
yeah.
The sun's going down here. Okay, go on.
So while I'm in this meditative state, I basically come to like this meeting place. Everything was white around me. And this little girl comes to me, and we're telepathically communicating, and she says, will you clear this? And of course, I don't know what it was, at the time, like I had no idea, there was no questions asked,
Mhm.
but I clear it for her, and I couldn't even really tell you like how exactly. It was like almost like a blip of light. Like she asked me, can you clear this trauma, that she had? And it ended up being my cousin who is in her 30s now, but her like 7-year-old self came to me and said, can you clear this? And it was like a portal of light, like blipped in it, and that timeline of trauma for her cleared. And someone else came to me, and I still am not sure who this man was, came to me and said the same thing. Can you clear this? And I saw myself too, like in this meeting space. It's like, of course. And that was just a really beautiful experience. Like I felt honored to have these two people come to me and
Yeah.
ask me, or not even me, but like, I don't know, like my
They
daughter
trusted you.
Dahlia.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was part of it too. Like it was an
Hmm.
experience that we were working together, like a portal was opening. It was just so cool. And I'm like still integrating that.
And
But
yeah, and for people that don't like have never heard of these experiences, this is very common because the veil is so thin when you're giving birth, but also like deep-seated meditators, I told you about it, how they have had these experiences where souls have come to them asking to clear things, and however you do it or choose to do it, if you agree, you clear something for them. So this is like a common thing that people experience in meditation. But it's also really cool that you did it during birth. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I feel like it's opened something for me, and I would be honored to continue to do that for
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah.
Um, Though another thing, my so Ashley Vincent, she's my witchy medium friend. She said, I saw, and she was amazing. Okay. She brought a notebook and she's just like logging everything that's happening, like
Wow.
with timestamps. And she's just like, 7:46, you had a pretty big contraction. And like just like
Wow.
writing notes to me and writing notes to Dahlia, my daughter, and had, my two sisters write something in
Oh,
it. And it was
that is
really,
so special. I've
really
never heard of
special.
anyone doing that. That is so special. Wow.
So special. And she drew something in there. It looked kind of like a jellyfish. And it's so funny because I came across a TikTok that basically was what she drew, but it was basically like a big jellyfish shield of protection that came over not just like our house, but like we have 5 acres and it like dropped itself over all of our land. Oh, it gives me the goosebumps. Yeah, they're like huge protection. And it's funny because have you ever heard? I don't even know what this is from. It's from some silly video, but it's just like demons come out. And so Jack and I, when I'm just like, when I have a belly ache or something, he like goes like this to my stomach. He's like, demons come out. It's just something silly we do. And
Yeah.
there's some video, but while I am laboring, I'm like being silly, like, because when you're not having a contraction, you're basically just your normal self.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting. Like we were laughing, like I could have played a hand of cards, like,
Mm-hmm.
but in that moment, I'm just being silly. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, demon come out. But I stopped myself because words are intentional and words are spells. And there's a huge ass portal opening. And to joke like I'm birthing a demon, you know, no. And so I had to like basically clear that from my mind, even though it was something funny, but like you want to be intentional and take it seriously, like the
Yeah.
words that you are releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so she starts crowning, and it is just the most beautiful dance with my body of stretching and releasing and stretching and releasing. And one of my goals was to not push at all. Um, and I didn't. I did one push at the very end, but it's amazing. My body just did it all. It just did it all for me. I didn't have to do a thing, like literally did not have to lift a finger. Like my body just did it
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
and I trusted. And so, she's crowning and going back in and she's crowning and I can feel myself stretching and I'm, thanking my body and Jack, my partner, amazing because throughout it, he is breathing with me. He's like doing deep, like breaths with me. And he's like, stretching is good. You're safe. Your body is safe. You're doing so good. You're a goddess. Like, just like very soft spokenly, like telling me these things, filling me with this love. And it gets to a point where I'm starting to like, oh, I did my midwife Danica is like reach up and feel her because I kind of felt like we were in this lull space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reach up and I'm like, I feel like there's like some sort of membrane in the way like my vaginal wall is like blocking her or something. And with consent, she feels too, and she's like, Laurisa, that's her hair. And I'm like, oh my God, what? That's crazy. And so, with consent, Jack
Yeah.
feels too. And everyone, like, we can feel her. So I'm like, okay, this was the boost that I needed.
Hmm.
And with the crowning, I felt like at one point, like, okay, my intuition is just like telling me that like she's fine, she's okay, but
Hmm.
she's just like in my birth canal. Like, is she getting squished? Like, what's
Hmm.
going on? Is this comfortable for her? Like, I have to push her out. So I have a contraction, and then I look at Jack and I'm like, she's coming out on the next one. And that was the one and only push that I actually did.
Hmm.
And her head came out, and I did have a paper cut size tear.
Hmm.
Not a big deal, but I believe that dance that we were doing of crowning and in and out, we probably could have done that 3 to 5 more times and I wouldn't have tore at all.
Hmm.
Um, but her head came out, and we have this on video. I'm so grateful for it. And I just instantly, like, my face is relief. I have this big smile, and I'm like, she's out. And everyone's like, well, her head is out. And I'm like, well, that's the hardest part, right? Like,
Hmm.
so then, it's amazing how babies can, from what I've read, can be underwater for up to 4 minutes
Hmm.
because, they're getting their oxygen still from the placenta. So my body relaxed, and we waited for my next contraction, and it came, and she just slid on out, and it was wild. Like, it was wild. I don't think I've sent you the pictures of my face.
Mm-mm.
You see, like, on social media, like, women have photographers and they just look angelic and like
Hmm.
angels. I'm in shock. My face is like, did you guys just see that shit? Like, did you just see this tiny little baby human come out of me? I'm an alien. I'm an alien.
I know
Straight up.
there's such little aliens too.
It was crazy, but she came out, and she's all curled up, and I just held her in my arms, and she starts crying, which is, I think, I really understand like why that first cry is so important. Like, it just made
Hmm.
me feel so good to hear her cry.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I held her in my arms, and I had Jack take my bra off so I could get her on my chest, and she immediately was just trying to latch, and we were at home. So I probably stayed with her on my chest and in the water for probably an hour. Um,
Wow. Did you birth the placenta in the tub?
yep.
Okay. So how long did that take to come out?
It probably took like 25 minutes, I
Oh,
would
that's really
guess.
quick.
Okay, I thought it was a long time.
I mean, I guess from what I've seen, it's really quick.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
everyone's
but
so
no,
different.
yeah, everyone is so different. But
And
yeah,
what
and
what did that feel like?
it felt like period cramps.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, and kind of like, oh, I thought we were kind of done with this,
Hmm.
and kind of impatient of wanting to just like pull it out.
I know. Hmm.
Yeah. But it wasn't that huge of a deal. But I spent about, an hour with her in the in the pool. And one thing I didn't realize would happen is like, and my midwife explained that it's the hormones. Like, I got the shakes. Like, did you
Mm-hmm.
experience that? Yeah, like,
I didn't, but I saw like so many women talk about getting the shakes. Yep.
yeah. And I experienced it through like labor and contractions, like towards like probably like the last like 2 hours. And
Okay.
it wasn't like it was like I was shivering cold, but I
Hmm.
wasn't like really cold. It was
Yeah.
interesting. I think, I read about like somatic release.
Yep. That's what I was gonna say. It's definitely some energy just getting out of your
Yeah.
body. Hmm.
Yeah. So just embracing it, and, flow was one
Yeah.
of my words. So, just
Hmm.
embracing all of the things that were coming up and happening. Um, And then when we decided to get out of the water, I handed her over to her dad, and my midwife, she had an assistant midwife there. So the assistant went with Jack and baby, and my midwife came and we were right by a shower. So I got in, got the warm water on me. And it was interesting because thought at the time I maybe like pulled something in my, not my ribs, but like where my lung and ribs like connect. So I was having like a really hard time breathing, very shallow. Honestly, like being in the water, I was completely fine. But it was like when I got in the shower and when I got out of the pool to walk, it was like everything just like flooded me. Like
Mm.
it really is a marathon to like be in labor. I was in labor for like 18 hours and just like it takes a lot,
Mhm.
like I don't want to say from you, um, but it took a lot, of intention and mind power and breath. And it was physical. My body, like my inner thighs were sore for probably a month after I gave birth. And I'm like, why? And I still don't know why. I did give birth in like a squatting frog position.
Yeah, that would
Um,
make sense. Just
yeah,
all that tension, like to hold
yeah,
that. It's a really, I mean, you're not used to it.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then we were at home. So I got dressed with the help of my midwives and I got in my recliner chair and held my baby and it was dark outside and we for our umbilical cord, we did a cord burning.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yep. So
What
we
was
had
that
like
like?
this it was just really intentional to just
Hmm.
honor, this organ that was grown and housed our baby and like
Hmm.
protected our baby. Like it was cool to Jack had a taper candle and I had a taper candle and we had this little box and you just put the cord in it and we both just took a moment to just really honor, this connection and while our intention was, to sever sounds harsh, but you know, sever the placenta in the umbilical cord, it also like just gave us a second of stillness for
Hmm.
everything, for the birth, for where we were at, for the baby. Like it was like a little moment of silence for what was and is. And it
Hmm.
took a while. It's probably took like 15 minutes to burn through
It
the
does
umbilical
take
cord,
long.
maybe longer.
Yeah. It does take a long time. People need to know that if they
Yeah,
go
like
that route.
if I'm being honest, at one point I was like, dang, should we just cut it?
My partner did. He was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm clamping this. And he was like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
cut the ad when you get like down to the very last minute. But it's very I think just like not having the clamps on is like the kind of the beauty of burning and the fact that you can do that.
Hmm.
Um, just like you're separating it from its life force. And it's like the final welcome to your baby,
Yeah.
like being on this earth plane now. So it just seems so much more gentle than like having a clamp, I felt.
Same.
That's why I chose to do it. But I always said if I were to do it again, I would do a lotus birth next time. I feel like you would maybe do a lotus birth. It seems inconvenient though. But
Yeah, yeah, it kind of does seem inconvenient, but I've thought about that and I think I don't know how long it takes for the connection in a lotus birth, but I think that I would like to honor the
mhm.
placenta by putting the herbs and creating like a mandala on top of it
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just letting it kind of be there for, an hour or two and have like
Yeah,
a
that's
mini lotus birth.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Did you
But
save your placenta or did you encapsulate it or what's your plan?
so I did save it. I have it in our freezer. For a long, long time, I wanted to encapsulate it, but something just wasn't sitting right with me personally. It just, I don't know, something about taking it and the hormones. I think what it came down to is I really believed that my body was going to regulate itself
Hmm.
and I didn't need that. And I also had it in my mind that, the placenta was the barrier of protecting the baby. So it
Hmm.
kind of filtered out anything bad.
Yeah.
So am I like absorbing that? It just kind
Yeah.
of it just wasn't sitting with me personally. But I want to bury it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
so
gonna bury
beautiful
it
there.
and plant a tree on top of it, and like give back to our soil and our
Mhm.
lands.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's what I did. So I love that. Um,
Awesome.
so looking at your intentions, would you say your birth played out in alignment with those intentions? Would you change how you describe like your birth in 3 words, or how does that sit with you?
Um, Transcendent,
Safe and fluid were your words. Yeah.
safe and fluid. Yeah. Oh, I said flow earlier, but fluid.
Part of,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Similar.
I love those words.
Yeah.
And I think that they really fit. And I'm so grateful that you asked me that question, because I know
Oh.
right away I gave you words and I ended up going back and, changing them after I
Hmm.
really sat down and thought about it. And, transcendence was perfect, safe. I wanted me to feel safe. I wanted, my people there to feel safe. I wanted my daughter to feel safe, like imagine coming down the birth canal or just like being born into this world. Like when she was born, I'm just like, you're not a fish anymore. Like you're a land creature now. Like I'm sad for you, but happy, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but no, I loved my words. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good. Okay. And then so like we only did 2 sessions together, but how did meditation, I know you're meditating on your own, like how do you think that played a role in your birth? Do you feel like it did?
Absolutely. I did a ton of research for throughout my pregnancy, preparing for my labor and birth. I explored a bunch of classes and kind of packages, and I am a huge, um, I will say meditator,
Mhm.
but I'm bigger at like visual experiences. And the one meditation that you led me through, um, of being in this meeting space and kind of forgiving
Mhm.
everybody, all of my people that weren't even, it was nothing even related to my labor and birth, but in a way it was amazing. I was able to hug like people that have passed that were angels. I physically hugged my sweetest dead mother, like in an embrace, and it was very special. And the second meditation that you had sent, um, well, I think you led me through two meditations and then you had sent me one, right? The one that you
Yeah.
sent, I walked around my yard
The walking
for
one, yeah.
I loved it. And honestly, I think I stopped and like started it over maybe twice because just to really fully absorb myself into it. Because it's all, my experience, labor and birth, mental. Like
Hmm.
90, okay, not 90, but like, well,
A lot.
80-40, and it switches back and forth from physical to mental. It's
Yeah.
huge. And you really want to have fluid control over your mind.
Hmm.
And I had kind of known that any resentment, any type of conflict about with other people or myself was going to come up in this process. And so I was digging into myself with a tiny little spoon, doing shadow work to kind of bring up anything and everything that could come up. And a lot of that was any miscommunications or anything going on with my partner. Like
Hmm.
anything that there was, like, was being brought up because I needed my labor and birth to be safe for our daughter.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think, I always say the birth is the mirror, and that's the really vulnerable side is choosing to have those conversations or confronting conflict that
Mm-hmm.
I think every person, not just women, everyone wants to run away from it. Like that is our instinct for most cases. So the fact that you were able to do that when you're vulnerable, when you're pregnant, like that says a lot about how much you cared about creating the birth that you really wanted. That's how much you were willing to do to get that birth. And I think on that segue, I talked to you about how I really want you to talk about how you created this village. Like you had three sisters at your, birth, one soul sister and all of that, and how you've just been thriving in postpartum. I think like something that I admire so much about you is you were like, hey, like I've been thinking about why I want to meet with you because I did a postpartum session in your package and you're like, I don't really need help, but like I want to help other women feel what I'm feeling in this postpartum experience because you're a first time mother. This is rare to have like such a beautiful experience, or at least people don't talk about it as much. So like I would
Mhm.
love to just hear a little bit about how you created this village. And I really want you to touch on how to ask for help and ask
Yeah,
from a place of love and gratitude versus victimhood. So can you talk about that?
absolutely. I really have been thinking about this question. What makes me feel like I have a village? Because I do have a village.
Hmm.
We have, for the last 3 months, have had people coming in and out of our house in like a really beautiful, like grateful way. But I'm trying to figure out, how did I get there?
Hmm.
How did I create that? Because I've been creating a village my entire life, and it stemmed from like lack of love or support,
Hmm.
you know? And so I extended to my best friend's mom. I extended to, my other best friend's entire family, like,
Hmm.
because I felt like I needed that. Um, but as an adult, trying to think of a woman who maybe doesn't have, a support system like I have spent my entire life creating, I realize I became my own village. I became my own village.
Hmm.
And when you spend time with yourself and digging into everything that you don't like about yourself, or you leave a conversation and you're just like I don't like how I ended that, or I don't like what I said to that person, and you just take the time to reflect on those things and understand that no one is perfect, we are human, but as long as you are reflecting,
Hmm.
that makes you perfect. You are source energy, like you're perfect the way you are, as long as you're reflecting.
Yeah.
Um, so I became my own village, and in doing that, I was able to communicate with people that I more or less wanted to continue to build relationships with.
Hmm.
Because you can't have strong relationships if you're not communicating, and you
Hmm.
have to learn, well, how do I communicate? I'm direct. I'm just straight up. Sometimes I'm like, I just need to word vomit.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's best to do it on a piece of paper and then go back and circle the things that actually matter and need to be, said on the receiving end. But yeah, a lot of shadow work. And one thing that really helped me with shadow work is astrology.
Hmm.
Astrology, to me, it's not a belief system. It's just something you either get or you don't.
Hmm.
And it's a great way to reflect on all aspects of your
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think, well, one, I just want to reemphasize women need to hear like you, well, everyone needs to hear you are perfect as you are.
yeah.
A lot of times, like, I feel like we get stuck in like a self-help loop, but the goal of helping yourself is just understanding that you're already perfect. And I think that needs to be like the end goal of every woman before they go into birth. Like, you're perfect. You are perfect. And you need to understand that. But that comes from enjoying your own company and wanting to be happy with yourself, and being able to sit with yourself in silence. And that's why I think like you meditating and being still, you learn to love who you are because you have no other distractions around you. You can sit with yourself and be like, oh, I do like this version.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the reflection comes from when you have a thought and you're like, don't love that thought. Like, why am I thinking that?
Well, and sometimes when I'm sitting with myself, it's not pretty. Like sometimes
Right.
I'm just like, oh my God, I'm disgust. Like
Hmm.
I suck. But
Hmm.
like you get through that
Yeah.
because you almost observe that you're having those thoughts and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well that's kind of silly. Like why would I talk to myself like that?
Yeah.
Um, dude, another thing, I know we'll get to this like what contributed to my experience, but during pregnancy, I'm a big bath girl. I
Hmm.
love a bath. This was before I even got pregnant. I was doing this. It was
Okay.
like my subconscious and my like body was preparing for what was to come. I started meditating on a well. So my well, which ended up being my womb, which I didn't even realize, but in my baths, I would see a well and it was, very like long and deep and slender. And I would imagine like like a pulley system of rope and
Hmm.
me, being kind of like on these like bungees, taking like a window scraper and like cleaning the sides of this well.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm cleaning this well, whatever. How can I be more efficient in cleaning this well? And so after I would scrape the sides, I created in my mind this little fairy tablet, just like a white powder that I would
Mhm.
drop into the well and it would foam all the way up to the top of the well and it would clean the sides of the well and it would clean the water and it would be crystal clear. And I probably did that like 20 times through 20 baths.
Oh,
I would
wow.
just clean this well.
Hmm.
And, I realized I was cleaning not only my womb, but this was like an ancestral like lineage cleaning of the of all of the womb.
Hmm.
So cool.
Because you didn't really have a ton of knowledge on like what your mother's birth experience was like with you since she had passed. So that's very interesting that you had that instinct regardless, like without
Yeah.
any knowledge of what birth trauma existed in your lineage, yet you knew it was there. That's so
Yeah.
crazy and cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, yeah, is there anything else like in terms of preparation for throughout your pregnancy that like you're like every woman should do this or like every woman should try this?
I read so many books. I okay, so Ina May,
Got it.
Guide to Breastfeeding, 110% recommend. Like out of all of the books that I read, this is probably one of the most important books.
Wow.
And I don't know if you had pumped for colostrum before you'd given
Mm-mm.
birth. Um, but and I would every single time I was pregnant, I would 100% start pumping at 36 weeks to
Okay.
collect, not even like for the collection, but to just get myself ready, to get, my nipples ready, to get my breast
Yeah.
ready, to get my mind ready
Hmm.
for breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Because, my experience, the first like 3 weeks is challenging. It was
Hmm.
challenging. Like, but
That
you get through
sensation
it.
is shocking.
Yeah.
I think like we don't really talk about it. We're like, yeah, it's beautiful, but you're kind of like, what the fuck? Like that first
Yeah.
time.
Like you're fucking rubbing all the skin off my nipple. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Hmm.
but you do get past that.
Yeah,
Um,
you do.
but then Ina May Gaskin, Spiritual Midwifery, this book is mostly just full of other women's birth stories.
Cool.
I cannot say enough, like, listen to not every woman's birth story, positive women's birth
Yeah.
stories.
Hmm.
And women are going to, when you tell them you're pregnant, they are going to tell you their birth story.
Yeah.
And from my experience, 9 out of 10 of them were negative.
Hmm.
9 out of 10 of them, actually, all of them were in a hospital.
Hmm.
And that's just a fact. This is like,
Can we go back really quick why you chose home birth? We never
yes.
touched on that.
Yeah. So long before I ever knew that I wanted children, I had known that I wanted to labor and birth. I've always known that. And I want to be, I guess I'm being like kind of toxic positive here, so I'll try to drop that. But
Love toxic positivity.
I just, well, it started with not wanting to give birth in a hospital, but then I quickly
Okay.
realized, I don't want to make a decision based on something I don't want to do. So I
Oh, interesting.
reframed my mind, and I wanted my birth to be so spiritual and so intentional. And I felt that I could have more control and I could achieve those outcomes
Hmm.
when and if I had a home birth.
Hmm. That's
It was
really
beautiful.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was everything you wanted. And I think
Yep.
that is like something is really important is like your external environment will have an impact on you, if you allow it to. And birthing at home does give you more autonomy, it gives you more control on just that aspect
As
of
a
being like, I can
woman,
move. Yeah.
like I feel power. There's power in birthing and trusting your body and trusting the process. There's power in that. And not to get all feminist, but the world currently is run by the man.
Hmm.
And nothing was an accident. You know, as you anybody that is reading and learning, about pregnancy and birth and choosing, where they want to give birth, the history of how birthing in hospitals came about, it will reveal
Shock you.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
I
And I
mean,
think,
America's medical system and big pharma, like, it all kind of connects.
and I think I was just telling you how interesting it is that women in other countries will say to me, "Oh, I know how bad it is in your country," without me
Yes.
even saying anything. I'm always just amazed at like what they're offered and stuff. And it's not every country, but women in other countries will tell me that. They're like, "Oh, I already know,
Yep.
I know." So people are aware of it outside of the system in different areas of the world.
Yeah.
But when it reveals itself to you, when you're integrated into that system, it's shocking.
Yes.
But if you're watching this as a woman debating what you want to do, it probably means that you're one starting to question some things and just know
Hmm.
you have options. And it's
Yep.
also not a fail if you end up going to a hospital or whatever. You have to do what's best for you in your mind. But training yourself to trust your body, trust your instincts, listen to yourself is your key to understanding what you need. Like, I don't know if you felt this way, but I felt this way. Like, I knew I was so in tune with my body that if something went wrong, I was going to know. Like, if I
Yes.
needed extra support, I was going to know. That's how in tune I was. And I feel like
Yep.
you, similar. Okay.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and we interviewed midwives. Like, there are
Yeah.
some there are some amazing midwives. My
Yeah.
midwife was incredibly knowledgeable, and I'm just amazed at, the work that these women do. And, she had a process, and if there was going to be something wrong, we were more or less going to know that before I gave birth, and we were already going to decide to be at a hospital. And if you are a healthy woman,
Yeah.
like, of course anything could happen, but I think that that is exaggerated. you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
my best friend, she gave birth a couple months, like 5 or so months prior, and her husband, had a hospital birth, and she shared with me, she's like, my husband and I, Kyle and I, we were kind of worried about you. And it's just kind of like, I love her. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But Jack and I were just kind of laughing about it because our experience was so peaceful. We were
Hmm.
so just straight up chilling. Like, there was no fear. There was never, there's never fear. Like, ever throughout from the moment my water broke, like, we never experienced fear.
And when
I
fear
want to
leaves the
invite
room.
I want to invite every woman ever to, like, I just want to get pregnant and have another baby just so I can invite every woman ever to my home birth to just witness
Witness it.
what what could be and what really is.
And that's why it's so important that positive stories get shared and that
Yes.
women have more positive birth stories to consume.
Yes.
And they can operate without fear because when fear leaves the room, that's where the bliss comes in. You're like, that's not even on my radar. You were just living it. And I remember when I first met you, our first meeting, you told me, I just really want to sit in the labor. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never heard anyone say this before.
Yep.
And in order to sit with it, and you were in labor 18 hours, is that what you said?
Yep.
Like you can't, if fear was running that, can you imagine how different your birth experience would have been?
Yeah. I would
It's
have been
really,
trying to run away, but no.
hmm
I
yeah.
this whole time I wanted to be still. I wanted to be in it and my
hmm
body was opening to give life. Like that is so cool. Like ultimate lotus. Um, and oh yeah, women will share their negative birth stories, and
Yeah.
that's a way for them to kind of cope and grieve, and
Yeah.
it's important to for them to have that space. I do think it's a little inconsiderate to share something negative like that to a woman who's pregnant, but
Yeah.
the pregnant woman, like you can kindly and gently like tell yourself like that's not my birth story. I reject that.
Yep.
Don't allow that into your space.
And I think that this is like the one area where it's like okay for people to just like give their trauma. Um, because you're right, it's a way to cope for women. So I think we
Mhm.
as women need to accept responsibility because I used to do this with my first birth. Like I would just openly be like, oh, everything went wrong, you know? And I'm like, but once I processed it, I was like, oh, that's not actually the truth. And I think that's what women need is processing. Like all these women go through this terribly traumatic births and then they're given no resource. They're not like, here's a therapist, here's someone to talk to. It's just like, okay, go home now, take care of this baby while you're trying to heal. And so,
Absolutely.
like that, maybe that's something I have to offer in the future is just birth processing because it is our job as women to support other women and we want to empower them as they go into their experience despite what our own experiences are. So that's something really
100%.
important to be wary about.
Integration,
Yes, exactly, exactly.
whether it's, positive or negative, like you have to process. Like
Yeah.
I was telling you, I feel like, my mind and my body has been preparing for something for so long. And then
Mhm.
it happened. It felt like it happened so quick. She's birthed, she's here. And now like I'm taking care of this baby whom I love dearly. But what about me?
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
did you see that? Like I just gave birth to a whole person. I'm not
Yeah.
over that. Like I'm still integrating it and I'm still feeling things in my body about it, in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's important. That's why I asked you, if you did any postpartum meditations. I think
Yeah.
that you should 100% offer that.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to think about like how to approach it. And for postpartum, can you like give like your top support or tips that you would offer women experiencing it, not even for the first time, but just in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to my books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Joe Dispenza, all about the mind, like creating and visually seeing. Like I imagined, well, not even like it starts off as imagination, but you create your own reality.
Mhm.
And I saw my birth space, my environment. I saw the pool. I saw, the background. I saw me in it. I saw, my facial expressions. Like I saw and heard, the tones that people would be talking in around me. I created my reality. And the meditation of cleaning out the womb and preparing this like loving safe environment for your baby to grow in, super important. So preparing the minds, having these visual meditations, listening to all of the birth stories, the positive birth stories that you can. There's the birth rebellion. The woman who hosts that, I believe she's from Australia.
Mhm.
So that's another good tip to listen to what other countries are doing around, pregnancy, labor, and birth. Um, this one is the natural mama. Just like a big pregnancy, it goes by the weeks. That was a good one to
Oh,
prepare. This one is called 10 Moons. It's an inner journey of pregnancy. I really, really loved this one. It hits on the science and the hormones of what is happening in the body. And it's like, it's the spiritual, like, this one is really good. Um, before I even got pregnant, so, my partner and I, we were intentional with our pregnancy. Like, I intentionally got my IUD removed in like September.
mhm.
And I really wanted to have my bleed, and I did. And I started tracking my period for the first time ever in my life. Like pen to paper calendar,
Mhm.
tracking my period, tracking when we were having intercourse, trying to figure out when I'm actually ovulating. And it was all intentional. And, it's 2026. I don't see, this is a hard opinion, but I don't see that there's any reason to like get pregnant on accident, you
Mhm.
know? I
Yeah.
encourage people to get off of birth control because it's not natural for the body. One of the reasons I did was because a lot of my women were experiencing PCOS. And so I kind of got my IUD removed out of fear, that
Mhm.
we would have trouble getting pregnant. Um, but you can track your period.
Yeah.
It's totally possible, and you know when you're ovulating. So, you know, we were already exercising, but I just kind of got more intentional. I'm exercising to create a safe, healthy environment to grow a baby.
Mhm.
And part of that was, going to my local YMCA and getting in the sauna and just sweating out any toxin that was in my body. Exercising, sauna. Um, I have some notes I'm looking at.
That's perfect.
Rejecting like what doesn't belong to you, what isn't yours,
Yeah.
and really digging in to self and the shadow work, womb clearing, and intention, intention, intention.
And you live your life like that. I mean, you took notes to provide the information you want. That's like the intention that we all should get to. I think, um, of course, there's like beauty and synchronicity and the unknown, but when you have intention, you at least know the path you're going to go on in terms of like how you're going to feel and
Yep.
in terms of the positivity of it. And so, like you touched on toxic positivity, I reject that term, like I
I
have
love that
heard
you
that
said that. It's like
because
sticking to me. I'm like, okay.
because toxic positivity, like when did toxic come into it? Like who, brought that in? That's like a recent term that I've learned like in the past few years. But truly, wouldn't you rather be positive about your birth? Wouldn't you rather be positive going into your pregnancy? The happiest people that you want to be, right? You want to be around positive people. You don't want to be around negative people. So if you can
Yeah.
just start embodying positivity, that's what's going to lead your intentions. And that's really what's going to change your life or how whatever you're trying to manifest in your world. So I think that's like the beauty of how intentional you've been. And I think a lot of us, when we get pregnant, we focus on the registry and the nursery. And that's like such all of the fun stuff, but we forget the day-to-day intention that we need to carry for ourselves.
And
Um,
it's easy to get swept up in
so
those
easy.
things. But it's
Yeah.
also easy to say, okay, I'm gonna take 3 minutes and sit in silence.
And that's all
And
it can take. Yeah.
there's no like if your mind starts running, whatever, let it. Like there's
Yeah.
meditation doesn't look like something specific. It's just
Mm.
to allow your brain to kind of vomit in itself, like word
Mhm.
vomit what it needs to, and then it kind of clears. You know,
Yeah.
I did a lot. I sat outside by trees. I actually had a tree talk to me and tell me his name was Severance and he goes by
Oh,
Sevi.
wow.
I know, so cool. But like all these these cool things happen to
Yeah.
you when you just take the time to just sit
Yeah.
with self and with the God of your understanding, with source, with the universe, with Gus, God, universe, source, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to just connect.
Yeah. It's a really special place to be. Oh, well, thank you so much. Is there
But
anything like last minute that you're like, oh, I need to include this or I want to mention this?
I don't know why, but this is coming to my mind. Probably like 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to quit drinking alcohol for like 3 months.
Hmm.
And it was because I realized I never intentionally decided to drink, to consume alcohol. You know,
Wow.
drank a little in high school, and then I drank so much in college. And, while I was a sophomore in college, like my mom had passed away the summer of my freshman year. So
Mm.
I went into college, university of being a sophomore on deep deep grief.
Hmm.
And I was drinking and blacking out. And
Hmm.
then I just, was drinking less, but still unintentionally up until, I decided to take those 3 months to not drink and kind of cleanse my system. And that was like, again, 3 years ago. I was probably like 27, 28 years old. And in doing that, I was able to, I don't even really like alcohol. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
do much for me. I'd rather, you know, experience and sit with psychedelics or like
Yeah.
marijuana. And but it just intention, so now even now, it's extremely challenging in my opinion to not drink. It's everywhere. It's in
Hmm.
every commercial. It's like the checkout lines are flooded with candy. Like there's
Yeah.
advertising, like the government or whomever like wants us to drink.
Hmm.
It's challenging not to, but now before I do, I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to drink this and I'll probably have X amount.
Hmm.
But like it's just one example of intention. Like everything I do, I try to do with intention. Like if I'm placing my shoes on my shoe rack
Hmm.
and like one is like crooked or something and I walk away, I'm thinking like that shoe's crooked and it's bothering me. Oh, it's because I didn't place it with intention. Like these shoes protect my feet,
Hmm.
like everything.
And one really good trick for people that are trying to start to integrate this is to ask yourself if this was someone else's shoe, like someone that I loved or someone I'm trying to impress, what would you do? Would you put your shoes back? This is such a small thing. It's true.
Yep.
You need to
Yeah.
treat yourself as well as you would treat a guest in your home or someone that you adore and love. Like you would put their shoes
Hmm.
back perfectly. So do it for
Yeah.
yourself.
And
Yeah.
isn't it interesting that it's so much easier for us to do
Yeah.
more or do better for someone
Hmm.
else?
Yeah. Which
It's
is like there's beauty in giving, but
exactly.
there's a lot of beauty when you can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you
I'm
can
so
give
happy you
more
said that.
beauty to others when you do it for yourself
That's
first.
so true. That's a great
Yeah.
point. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We'll post this story, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of women and help a lot of women. And that was your goal, was to help other women
Yeah.
understand that it's possible for them to have experience similar to yours and to thrive in postpartum as a first-time mother.
Yeah.